Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a wonderful feeling that everything is going my way. But then my imposter syndrome kicks in and it's like, no, it ain't, bitch. Hey everybody, welcome back to an all new episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I am your hostess with the absolute mostest and oversharing, the doll herself. That's right. Now, today we're going to have a good time on this episode. I am going to be talking a little bit about imposter syndrome. That's right. Which I don't even know why I'm here because I am nobody to be talking about this. Or so my imposter syndrome says, literally about everything. But then we're also going to be taking on another DollFAM topic choice question where I am going to be answering another one of your guys' questions that was left on my Facebook page. And then we're going to get into a little bit of wacky news. Y'all like pasta? I love pasta. I don't know if I love pasta this much, but I definitely love pasta. So if you guys want to hear all about the goodness, the good word from the doll, well then just grab yourself a brew and sit down because I love hanging out with you. So before we get started and really get into this week's episode, I wanted to take a minute and say something that I think is really important to acknowledge, because when you're an influencer, when you're a content creator, you make a lot of relationships with other creators and brands and businesses, and sometimes you have to say goodbye to those things. So I wanted to let everybody know who's a Monday Coffee with the Doll watcher that we are going to be saying toodaloo to one of our amazing show sponsors, and that is Sleeping Dog Coffee. Now, have no fear, no howling, no crying, because this is a good thing. It's a good thing because the owner of Sleeping Dog Coffee is going to be taking some time away to travel on new adventures and find new things that feeds her soul and brings her happiness. And sometimes with the close of one project, one brand, one thing that you do, new doors, windows, and adventures open. And I will be the first person that says, go down those roads. Go through that door, climb out that window. If it's what feeds your soul and it's what makes you mentally and fully sound, then I am a big supporter of chasing those things. So from Monday Coffee with the Doll and the doll herself, Jessica, I am only saying farewell to this bond that we have together, but you're definitely not going to lose me that easy because I absolutely love your face and I am excited to support you on any and everything that you choose to do with your life in this dimension while we are in it together. So I want everybody to let Jessica know that you love her and that we are rooting for her in all of the new things that she does with her and her puppy dogs in her life, because it's always going to be a brew ready for you, girlfriend, because I love your face. And I am so happy that I had the honor and the chance to connect with you through your small business. But I am also very happy that I get to call you friend now, and I get to continue on in this life knowing who you are and seeing all of the amazing things that you do. So this is only farewell for now in this endeavor, but welcoming and wishing you the best of luck in all of your new endeavors. And thank you so much for allowing me to continue to watch you grow and do all the amazing things that you're going to do in your life, because you're going to do great things, girl. All right, so this week's main topic discussion, I really feel like I don't have any right speaking on, but that could be my imposter syndrome speaking. Yes. So we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is kind of a new term. I don't know if a lot of people have heard it as vastly as I have, but I connect with and do a lot of connecting with people who struggle with a lot of different mental illnesses and struggles and things that they're trying to learn how to navigate that some would say are holdbacks or negatives or things of that nature. Things that you seek counsel in with other people because they're hard to navigate on your own. And one of those things that I have been hearing about a lot lately is imposter syndrome. Now, I will admit imposter syndrome is something that is also newer to me, and I didn't know that this thing that I had an actual very relatable name. And that is imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome, if you look it up, I'm going to read you guys the main description, and that is Imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities. That is something that I heavily struggle with. And as we kind of navigate through our lives and people begin to share more across social media, it's kind of easier to learn about the things that you may need to research and look into in regards to your own mental health. And imposter syndrome, when it came on the scene, it's really self-explanatory, right? To feel like an imposter, to be an imposter, but to feel like an imposter in your own life and in your own mind can definitely be a heavy struggle. And for me, it makes a lot of sense that I struggle with this if I look at my background, because I very much always had a lot of direction and control over my life by other people. So I think that when other people direct and control your life, when you take control and try to direct your own life, you can feel like an imposter, like you do not know what you're doing, that you shouldn't be in control, that you're not capable, that anything you do is kind of a faux version of something you don't even really know about. And I think, when I started into pinup modeling and I created the vintage doll, I think that was the first time that I ever really felt like I was in control of something in my own life and in my own identity and in my own interests. And I think that's why it gave me so much confidence and courage and determination in continuing in this thing that I love so much, because I, for the first time, felt like I wasn't a fake. I wasn't a phony. And I still feel like a fake and a phony in a lot of things that I do, in business, for instance. I had a really interesting conversation with a other content creator, and you guys are going to get the opportunity to hear that conversation because it's going to be posted on their YouTube channel here coming up this week. And spoiler, it's my husband. Yes, that's right. The doll is doing a collaborative video with her husband. Now, my husband is a real estate consultant. He's been in the real estate business for over 20 years, and he's really knowledgeable in business and investing and real estate and helping other people guide their businesses, and in all facets. He is the total opposite of me. Maybe that's why him and I do so well together, right? Because they say opposites attract. And we're alike in everything except when it comes to business, because I feel like such an imposter. I don't feel like I have any right to be in control of anything of importance. I feel very incapable. My kid asked me, how do I feel about being an adult? And I said, it's really weird because I don't feel like an adult. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I haven't been adulting for very long. It wasn't until I got a divorce and I went back to work and I really started gaining the ability to make decisions in my own life that I really started having to be an adult, because everything else was in a very controlled environment. And there was not a lot of choices that I was given the opportunity to make. And then, my home life was very much the same when it came to my parental upbringing. Once we moved to Oklahoma, I had a mother that was very controlling in how she felt like people should live their lives. So, every move that you make is kind of dictated by somebody else's feelings or emotions on those choices. So you tend to not really make honest choices for yourself because you're constantly trying to reflect what other people want you to do. So the more that I was put in charge of my own choices and destiny, the more I had to actually become an adult and really deal with situations and handle things on my own as my own personal entity over my future and my decisions and my choices. And so it hasn't been a very long time for me. We're talking less than 10 years. So less than 10 years of really being an active adult in my own life. And that's not a very long time if you think about time, you know what I mean? And it's been really difficult. And imposter syndrome is something that I struggle with very greatly, because I just feel like I don't measure up in anything. I'm not up to par with where anybody is supposed to be when it comes to making big choices, when it comes to making knowledgeable choices, serious choices, important choices. I always feel like I'm a great sounding board. Like if people want to come to me and be like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, yeah, if that's what you want to do, let's go ahead and do that. So when it comes to making moves in my own life, there's a lot of times where I very much feel like an imposter, where I feel like I have no real knowledge or capability of deciding or figuring things out. And that can be a really hard thing to do, and deal with as a grown person, because you have to have confidence and you have to have, you know, a connection and identity to self and the choices that you make. And when you feel like you don't have a right to do them, or you're not knowledgeable to doing them, or you're a fraud in what you're doing, or a phony, and it can really be something that hinders your progression. So it's something that I work very heavily on in my healing process and in my growth process. Like I say, I'm healing, not healed. I have not reached the finish line by any stretch of the imagination. And imposter syndrome can be a really difficult thing. So I'm going to bring this up really quick, and we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome cycle, because I think that these kinds of things are important and they kind of help us connect with things that we might be dealing with internally. And it's like I said, imposter syndrome is something that's kind of newer that people are talking about, because there was never really a title for it. It's not something that I ever, up until the past few years, it was never something that I really heard about as far as like mental health and dealing with situations and like working it out. It may be somebody who has like an active therapist or something like that is really familiar with it. But for a lot of people, I don't think that if you don't have a therapist, if you don't talk to professionals, these types of terms aren't necessarily always known. You might have been hearing it in passing. You hear people say, I have imposter syndrome, or I feel like I'm an imposter, or things of that nature. So that might be something that you have heard. But that's why I like to talk about these things on my show. This little gnat has been flying around in my episodes for several weeks now. I don't know how he's surviving, but you do you, boo. You have been here long enough that this is your zip code. So I feel bad just like taking him out. But if you guys see him, it's not a ghost. It's just my little gnat friend. We have gnats here in Texas this time of year because it's so moist outside. But I think it's really important that we talk about these things, because the more that we talk about them and the more familiar we get and the more comfortable we get with talking about them, it's easier for us to process them and heal, but it's also easier for us to help others, and it's also easier for us to be more empathetic towards others if it's not something we struggle with personally. So the imposter syndrome cycle: a new project or task, anxiety, procrastination, or over preparation. That's me. Whenever I'm about to take on a project or a task, I get a lot of anxiety, and I procrastinate really bad, because I feel like my capability of taking on said projects, who am I? So like working with brands sometimes can give me a lot of anxiety, because I feel like, who am I to even be capable of being a collaborative person in a project, right? What do I have to offer? I'm a content creator. This is just what I do. Like, don't acknowledge me for being good at what I do, because who am I? I don't know what I'm doing, right? This is just what I do. And I really discredit my capabilities and what I can provide to people. And I'm trying to work on that, because I'm good at what I do. I am capable of what I do. I work really hard at what I do, and I've been doing it for over a decade. So I have a lot of knowledge in what I do. And I shouldn't doubt myself, because I very much am capable. Project completion: a brief relief and sense of accomplishment. That's very, very true, because once I finish a project, once I finish editing a video and finally put it out, I feel like, yes, I did it. I'm good. I'm done. I can feel accomplished in that moment. I did a good job. I can give myself a pat on the back, but leading up to it was so overwhelming. Rationalization, I was lucky or somebody else would have done a better job. I think about that a lot. You know, in the line of work that I'm in, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people out there who do what I do now because it's a very trendy and mainstream job to be a creator, to be an influencer. So I'm always comparing myself to literally every other creator out there, thinking that, you know, it makes sense that somebody's working with that person because they're so good at what they do. They should talk to them about it. Why are you in my inbox? Like when Urban Decay and Hard Candy and Ciate London, you know, they send, these are big cosmetic brands, and they send me PR packages because they like the content that I create and they want to have me continue to create content and support their brands and be an influencer and ambassador for their brands, and they provide me with these tools to create content because they like my content. You know, that should be enough, but my imposter syndrome immediately is like, I don't deserve these. Why do I have these? Why are you sending me these? I'm not good enough to create for, you know, so it can be really difficult to get over that when there's so many people out there also creating content. I tend to hold myself to whatever they're doing versus what I know I can do. And what I can do is just as good. I'm a great creator too, but it can be really hard to accept that and stop letting that voice in the back of your head tell you other people are better than you are, so why are you even trying? Increase self-doubt, anxiety, and feeling like a fraud. That 100% is me. Anytime I'm given an opportunity or a job or a collaboration or people reach out to me, I immediately get very anxious and I doubt what I can bring to the table. And I struggle with getting that under control to be able to have a professional conversation sometimes because this increasing self-doubt takes over. And I feel like I've been doing my work for such a long time in this way. It's like this vicious cycle where everything, you know, just this is how it works, right? Somebody reaches out, I panic, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't even try to put a proposal on the table because why would they pay me? Why would they want to move forward with me? Who am I to even ask? I'm not worth this. I'm a fraud, right? I don't even know what this is just what I do. Why would you don't need to pay me. I'm not worth this. So imposter syndrome can be something that affects you greatly in, did you see it kiss me on the cheek? It's like, thank you for not killing me. I don't know if y'all can see this gnat, but when I edit my videos, I can see this gnat and it drives me crazy. So y'all have to be able to see this. I'm not that kind of crazy. I'm crazy in a lot of ways. That kind of crazy. So imposter syndrome is definitely something that can infiltrate your life and your relationships and your work and projects and your passions and your things that you get involved in. So one of the things that I would recommend that you do is just, it's something that I've said in the past. There was a video of Lady Gaga, and I'm not a Hollywood like worshiper. I'm not somebody who really looks up to a lot of you know, big time people. I like who I like, I dislike who I dislike, but I definitely don't put a lot of stock in what a lot of people in the media say because I feel like a lot of that is just impostorial as well. But I did see a video of Lady Gaga, and she said somebody had asked her about her work, and she had said, you know, when people ask me about when they say your music is great or they like this video that I did, she says, I take the time to thank them and say, thank you. Thank you for caring about this. It is great, right? I worked hard on this. This is an amazing piece of art that I created, and I take the time to be thankful that they are taking the time to let me know that they understood it and that they love it and that they enjoyed it, because you did work hard on it. You should be proud of it. You should take the time to acknowledge what you're capable of and what you can do and what you're good at and your abilities. And I think that you have to change your way of thinking when it comes to things like imposter syndrome, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to these things, because they are very, very festering. They infiltrate your mind, they infiltrate how you think, and then ultimately that infiltrates how you speak, how you handle situations, how you move forward. So I think that you also need to learn how to change that. So when you take the time to say, this is a great thing that I did work hard on this, I am good at my job, I do work really hard in my relationship. I think that when you start to stop and take the time to actively make these proclamations, it kind of helps retrain your thought process. It's something that's really difficult. It's something that's really hard, and it's not going to be something that just goes away. It's something that I deal with constantly. It's something that I'm still navigating, and I don't have any easy answers. But if you're somebody dealing with imposter syndrome, if you're somebody who struggles with these things, and you need somebody to talk to about it, make sure you check out my information below where you can book a one-on-one coffee date with me, because I would be happy to sit down and take some time to talk to you about the things that you're struggling with, and maybe we can kind of come to some type of balance and at least come to a place where you feel supported and heard, and I would be very happy to book some time with you. So that's going to be about our main topic discussion. We are now going to move on to what's one of my favorite parts of the show, and that is the DollFAM topic choice question, where you guys ask a question and I answer and talk about something that you guys want to hear me talk about. So that's what we're going into next. All right, so every once in a while, I will put this post up on my Facebook page, and you guys will leave comments about what you want me to talk about on Monday Coffee with the Doll, and I go through the comments and I pick and try to answer as many as I can until the post kind of goes silent, and then I'll repost it again and we will start all over. So I thought that this was a great one that goes with our main topic. I try to pick things that kind of coincide with maybe the discussion that I'm having, and I thought that this was a really good one, and it is from Gary Jordan, and he says, I had time to think about your question. He said, you should talk about people who are fake, and in having to be so in order to be glorified, they end up mistreating people who care about them and throwing those people away. I think that this is a really great question, Gary, and I think that it's really interesting because I think that it's something that a lot of people can relate to. I think one of the most common toxic personality traits or complexes that you will come across in life are people who are fake. Now, I think that there can be different levels of this. I think that there's people who it's a type of coping mechanism and it's a type of filter that they kind of put over their own personality and who they are, because maybe they struggle with imposter syndrome and they are afraid to be themselves, and they're afraid to show people who they are because they feel like they'll be judged or they won't be accepted. You know, I just watched the Anna Nicole Smith documentary on Netflix. I like to watch those documentaries because I think that Netflix is, in a sense, I'm going to say this, I kind of feel like Netflix puts out documentaries almost to try to take control of society's idea of a situation, because a lot of people put a lot of stock in Netflix documentaries and what Netflix puts out, and when a new documentary comes up, everybody's like, we have to watch it, right? Like they did the one on Marilyn Monroe, which was really interesting to me because I feel like there was a lot that just wasn't talked about, and I feel like they tried to kind of navigate the perspective of a situation that happened without necessarily always being factual and true. I don't think that's necessarily the case with the Anna Nicole Smith documentary, but I did see a person who seemed to kind of be struggling with imposter syndrome. You know, she very much portrayed herself in a way that she thought would be beneficial for her and how she would be able to get the things that she needed and deserved for her and her child. And she portrayed herself in a lot of ways that were not necessarily true to, I think, who she was as a person, to secure that way of life and to secure something that she felt would ultimately fill that hole in herself, even though it was to her own demise. But I think that there's also a lot of people out there who are fake because they just are toxic. Now, I think that people who are like you said, fake and in having to be so in order to be glorified, and they end up mistreating people who they care about and throw them away. I think that there's a lot of hurt people out there, and hurt people hurt people. With that being said, I don't think you should necessarily allow hurt people to hurt you. You know, at the end of the day, we're all accountable to our own behaviors and choices, especially when we project those onto other people and we hurt other people in doing so. Did you see that gnat land on my nose? I sound like a crazy woman talking about this gnat. I think that people who portray themselves in false lights and with false narratives to be glorified or loved are dealing with attention complexes and are dealing with acceptance complexes and maybe dealing with feeling like they were never paid attention to or glorified, you know, by anybody else, so they feel like they have to portray themselves in a false narrative or in a false way to get that validation. And I think that at times that can really hurt a lot of people. You know, in the pinup industry, there's a lot of women that portray themselves in a false light at the expense of others, so they can be glorified and they can be seen on some type of pinup queen pedestal where they're better than everybody, or they're more pinup than somebody, or they deserve more credibility in the pinup scene, when secretly they are maybe not the prettiest behaving individuals, but to others they try to portray themselves as such while they're secretly bullying people. You know, I've dealt with groups of women who have portrayed themselves as people who stand up against bullying and are very anti-bullying, and they create these entire pinup groups to present as anti-bullying when in the shadows and, you know, in places that they feel other people can't see them, they're bullying women to such an extent that those women want to kill themselves. So I have dealt with a lot of people who will behave in false ways to who their character really is, so they can seek validation from being glorified by other people at the expense of others. And I think that those are huge complexes, but they're complexes that are issues that they have to seek help for. You can't do anything about that. You know, I think that when it comes to those types of personalities, the more that people try to speak out against them and like out them, the more violent and aggressive they can be in how they hurt others to secure that identity, that false identity that they've created for themselves. People like that tend to have no limitations to hurting other people. And they will at all costs try to secure the identity that they've created that they feel like other people see. And they will do anything to secure that. And they can be as cutthroat as possible. And the problem is that the more you try to actively combat that and try to like speak out in defense of like maybe yourself, those people will continue to get dirtier and dirtier. Are you willing to get dirty? Are you willing to stoop to the level that they're at to try and defend yourself against things that are usually being said that are not accurate or true? I tell people all the time, you know, there's a lot of people out there who will lie and be false to secure a narrative that they've created about themselves towards others. And the more you defend those lies and those false narratives that people are creating about you, the more you're feeding that monster. A lie is a lie. And the more you try to defend yourself against these things, the more you feed that lie. If it's not true, it's not true. It's not true. It's done. You know, I had an entire group of women come at me once to try and paint me in a false narrative that was so against my character and against who I was, and they worked really hard to socially smear me, and they kept putting out more and more stuff that they had made up to try and make me look bad. And I ignored it because it wasn't true. You know, if somebody goes out there and says, Emily, this is terrible, Patricia's like, say this, Emily sucks wet farts out of dinosaurs' assholes, I'm gonna laugh. It's not true. Do I really need to go out there and get on my pedestal and grandstand about how I don't do that? Thanks, Patricia. That was a terrible example, dude. Gosh. No, I don't, because it's a lie, because it's not true. And the more that you go out there and you try to like express the truth on these situations, the worse they tend to get and the messier they tend to get. And then you just end up looking as bad or worse than this person, because this person is willing to lie and cheat and steal to create that false narrative about you while protecting this fake identity that they've created about themselves. So the more that you don't feed that beast, the more that those types of personalities will go away. And people like that need to seek professional help, because there's nothing, like, I am the first to be like, I'll hold you accountable. You're a liar. This isn't true. I'm done. And then I move on. Those people will peacock and their feathers will get ruffled and they'll be like, yeah, but that's not true. And then they go out and they try to make up a whole bunch more BS. Okay, let them go out there and make fools of themselves, because at the end of the day, real people are going to see the reality of the situation. And when it came to those girls, for me, I had 1 million people in my inbox letting me know that they knew the truth of the situation and to not worry about it. And I didn't feed the beast, and within a week, the beast was bored and moved on. So I think that if people want to be fake and they're willing to mistreat others to strengthen the fake identity that they feel validates them, those aren't people that you need in your life. If they are willing to throw away good people who love them and care about them but are calling them out for this, you have to let people walk that path, and you need to do your healing and move on, because sometimes those relationships are relationships that you don't want to lose, and it hurts really bad to have to lose them, but you don't have to stand up to being treated like that. Like, you don't just stand there and let somebody do that to you, period. You are worth more than that. Is it going to suck? Is it going to hurt sometimes to step away from those relationships? Well, of course. But the relationship that you're grieving of that person isn't a relationship you get to have anymore. So by staying around, you're just a glutton for punishment at that point. You know what I mean? So that's my advice, Gary. I hope that it helps. If it doesn't, I apologize. I shouldn't be giving anybody advice. I don't really know what I'm talking about for the most part. I just kind of talk and tell you how I feel about things. So that's how I feel about it. Oh, what? That's my imposter syndrome. Hey, yo, go figure. I'm a little sussy. A little sussy in here. Do, 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 do. So now we're going to move on to our final segment, and that is what's with these GD headlines. So I hope you guys are ready for some pasta. All right, so here is probably one of my favorite parts of the show that I've started to incorporate, and that is what's with these GD headlines. And that's where I take a crazy headline that I saw in my news feed and I bring it to you guys, because I like to share. If I have to learn about this stuff, I think that you guys should also have to learn about it. But I also like this segment because I feel like it's one of the things and times where I get to just talk about something random and I get to just kind of like share my thoughts on it. And it's not like really constructed. It's just like, this is crazy. Did you hear this? This is crazy. And I like to talk about it with you guys. So this week, so really crazy. This happened, I guess, at the beginning of this month. But I didn't see it until recently. So if you heard about this story, well, now you're going to get to hear about what I think about this story. So this is from The Insider. Now, again, I don't really put any stock or credibility into any journalism at this point in the game, any news outlets, any media. I pretty much feel like everybody's at the same point in the totem pole, and that is at the bottom when it comes to the news. So I don't really put a lot into what platform I pull these from, because I don't really think it matters. So if the Insider isn't necessarily the most like trustworthy, I mean, what news channel is? You know what I mean? So this is the mysterious piles of pasta found in a New Jersey forest likely came from a stockpile of food a man found in his dead mother's home, the neighbor says. So these pictures are absurd. Look at these pictures. This pasta is out of control. Like, it almost looks like a hairy monster. just laying on the bank right there. Like mounds of pasta were found near a stream in Old Bridge, New Jersey. So this says about 500 pounds of pasta were found on a riverbed late last week in Old Bridge, New Jersey. There were loads of questions about the mysterious spaghetti's origins. Now, a neighbor says the noodles were likely dumped by a man who cleaned out his mother's home after her death. How are you just gonna throw your mama's pasta out by a creek? How dare you? How dare you? She had been stockpiling this pasta for who knows how long. And you're just gonna dump it by a creek like it don't mean nothing? I wonder if it was expired. You could have donated it, man. Unless it was expired. If it was expired, don't donate expired food. Don't be that person. But if it wasn't, shame on you for just putting it out there and wasting it. I love pasta. I love noodles. I'll cook spaghetti noodles and then just stand in front of my fridge and eat them cold and plain in the middle of the night. I don't even care. I love fettuccine. I love spaghetti. I love pasta. I love mac and cheese. I'll eat my weight in mac and cheese. It's not 500 pounds, but is that what they said? How much did they say? Yeah, about 500 pounds. That's like 5 of me. 5 of me. Neighbor Keith Ross told NBC New York that the man lived in the house with his mother. Upon her death, he put the house up for sale. He likely found the pasta, which filled roughly 15 wheelbarrows, while cleaning out the house. Ross said, I really feel like he was just trying to clear out his parents' house, and they were probably stocked up from COVID, Ross told NBC New York. He added that it could be a generational thing, saying, my grandparents always had a cupboard full of cans of pasta just to be safe, which is true. You know, that whole like stockpiling and like making sure you have stuff just in case. And I know that like older people, they do have to consider that, especially when you think about like what went down for COVID. All of the able-bodied young people would go out and they would just take everything. And so if you're an older person and you are living on a fixed income, or you don't have a car, or you have a medical condition and you can't physically leave your house, like, you know, there's not going to be anything left for you. So you might as well have an entire, stockpile of pasta, because pasta's good. It's great. It says a town official said the local public works department found what appeared to be 15 wheelbarrow loads of illegally dumped pasta along a creek in a residential neighborhood last week. A neighbor who previously a councilwoman who previously ran for council posted on Facebook on April 28th that the city had cleaned it up. She added that while the pasta was a new type of dumping, the area had seen plenty of thrown away construction debris and garbage. So it looks like this area is just where people dump stuff that they don't want. And he was like, they dump all kinds of stuff out there. If you can post your trash up out there by the creek, I'm going to dump some pasta. Maybe the squirrels will eat it. I don't know what he was thinking. She told the New York Times she discovered the identity of who dumped the noodles, but would never reveal it to anyone given the attention the incident has received. The Old Bridge Township Police Department and City Council did not immediately respond to insiders' request for comment. So here's the thing. That's a difficult situation all the way around. I think that there's a lot of dumping issues that people have. I think that when people have stuff that they don't want, a lot of times if they don't have the type of like facilities to discard of things in a costly manner, a lot of people will just dump things in areas that they think they have the right to dump things. In a lot of places you have to pay to dump things at like your local dump, and if his mom died, he's trying to deal with all of this stress, all of this grief, who knows what his financial status is, if he has all of the stuff that he needs to get rid of and he doesn't feel like he has a place to dump it, he's like, I'm gonna just dump it by the creek. At least it's a biodegradable product, you know what I mean? They're saying that this is a common thing that they're seeing people dump construction debris, and that's trash. They're just trashing up the creek. At least what he dumped was a biodegradable product. It would have eventually just like gone into the soil, but 15 wheelbarrows full of pasta? Like, your mom, like, I'm pretty sure they have like pasta anonymous groups. I'm just joking. I love pasta. Bless mama's heart. Girl, I love pasta too. I would have I always dream about having those like jars behind me with like all the different types of pastas in it because they just look beautiful. There's an account on Instagram that I follow, and all this woman does is make beautiful colored pastas with different patterns and shapes and colors in them, and she makes them from scratch and they're beautiful. So like, I can get down with some pasta. But 500 pounds of pasta, mama, somebody should have been like, Mom, we could literally feed an entire village with your pasta collection. We need to like get this circulating because it's gonna go bad. I hope it was expired, because if that was like not expired pasta and he just dumped it out there and he didn't donate it, bro, you got some explaining to do as to why you would just waste food like that. Some of it looked like SpaghettiOs, which we all know taste like dog food. You could have taken that to a dog shelter at least, you know what I mean? But the rest of it just looked like regular spaghetti noodles, and it all looked cooked. So I'm assuming like because of all the water, I wonder if he like just dumped out dry pasta. So when he left, it didn't really look like that big of a deal, although that's still a lot of dried spaghetti noodles. But then like later, it just like started soaking up all of the moisture and became like, it's crazy. These pictures are absolutely crazy. But yeah, so really what was a mystery quickly turned into something where we were like, well, I mean, his mom did just die, so let's cut him some slack. And the fact that they're not telling anybody who did it, I think is really great, because I think it's unfortunate how situations like this will arise and the media will put people's names out there, and then they have to be subjected to the torment of everybody around the globe who can read the news story, which I think is really unfair, because people online can be total trash. And I think that in regards to this situation, it's really not that big of a deal, and I don't think this man needs to be bullied for his pasta disposal, even if it was a little reckless and crazy. I'm sure all of the creek animals, were excited about it. It's probably the most excitement they've seen in a long time. So yeah, that's what's up with this GD headline. All right, so before I close out the show, I like to do a couple of things. I like to talk to you guys about my projects that I have going on, things that you can check out, make sure that you don't miss out on. I wanted to show you guys this because I have been waiting for it to show up. Look how beautiful this is. Rebel 13 magazine has put out an absolutely epic 80-page magazine. This is a thick girl. It is absolutely beautiful. It has a lot going on, and not just because your girl's on the cover, but it's absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of really great features in here. I have to say, Tony did a really great job putting together this magazine and the layout. I have my feature inside. If you guys want to read my tell-all Q&A, you're gonna have to order yourself a copy. You can order it off of his website, or if you guys want to get in on some autographed collectible packages and versions of this magazine, I have it on my link tree. This is actually going to an absolutely amazing DollFAM member of mine who always orders up any of my collections and collector's packages I put out. He has quite the vintage doll pinup collection, I'll tell you. But this is their May-June issue, and it's just a really beautifully put together magazine. I think this is probably one of my favorites in it. I love this feature. But something that I really appreciated about this magazine is that it's not just like a photo collection. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here that Tony put together, and it's a lot of fun. You know, this is one of them. There's a drink recipe in here, how to make a really kick-ass Mai Tai. But there's also, which I really loved, is that there's a lot of different features in here. So they also have this really rad, check this out. So this is for a restaurant. It has their menu. It kind of shows what they offer. And this is, let's see, what is this? This has an entire recipe in here on how to make this. How amazing is this? So it's got a recipe in here to make some kick-ass food with Chef Isaac Vasquez, which I think is absolutely rad. But then, what else did I see in here that I really appreciated? So pinup magazines can always have pinups in there, but they don't always have anything else, right? Now this has really cool car show coverage of some events. It's got the beautiful Courtney Hanson in there. She has her show, The Ride of Your Life with Courtney Hanson. One of my dear friends is in that show, Mike Cook. He's an absolutely amazing human being, and also just what Mike does and has done his whole life. He is a professional in everything that he puts his hands to. But I also really loved that they had a rockabilly band featured in here, and they have an interview with them. So there's so many really cool things in issue number 9, and your girl's on the cover. So if you guys want to support pinup and rockabilly in print, make sure that you guys order yourself a copy. You can get them right now on their website. You can also find them on my link tree, so you guys can get a hold of those. But also check these out. Look what just came in. My stickers. That's right. You can also order these on my website too. I'm selling these little stickers with a signed print. So you guys can find a lot of really cool stuff on my link tree this month as far as autographs, prints, collectibles. I'm going to be releasing a new product next month that's going to be a little bit different. I'm always going to have a print option on there to add to your vintage doll pinup print collection, but I think I'm going to come out with some new cool stuff to put up there for you guys to get your hands on some limited edition really cool merch. But also there's a lot of different things on there you guys can find to reach out to me, connect with me, support my content. You guys can find ways to donate to help creating the content that you guys love to watch that I make. There are also personal requests on there, so you guys can find some fun requests on there, as well as find a way to sponsor an entire pinup shoot that is tailored to your liking. I'm actually speaking with one of my devoted fans right now who is talking to me about sponsoring one of my pinup shoots in the styles and particulars of his pinup taste. And those are really fun because not only do you get to help continue the creation of pinup art in modern day time, but you guys also get to have a shoot tailored to your personal pinup interests. You get a lot of really fun things from it. I send out an entire package to you once the shoot is done. So you guys can hit that up and send me a message and we can talk about it if you want to know more about it. But also, there's all kinds of fun ways to contact me below, so make sure that you check out the description. There's ways that you can write into Monday Coffee. There's ways that you can get your small businesses featured on the show. There's all kinds of cool ways to connect with me, interact with me, and get supported by me in all different fun ways. So yeah, make sure that you check out all the information below. You can also find links to order a copy of issue 9 of Rebel 13 magazine. Make sure that you guys are checking that out because the best way to support modern day pinup in today's society is to buy our cool shit. So yeah. Finally, before we go, I want to make sure that I give a shout out to all of these amazing sponsors who help support and share Monday Coffee with the Doll. These are some really great small businesses and brands that connect with me and network my show. They sponsor my show. They put in the time that it takes to share my show across their own platforms. You know, it's a really big deal to network when you are a content creator or a small business. Social media algorithms are extremely abusive and they ghost people nonstop. So we are putting in our hard work to create this content for you guys and to create these products and brands and all of this cool stuff that you guys enjoy. But alas, social media likes to ghost us and keep you guys from even seeing all of the hard work that we put in to create this content that you guys spend so much time enjoying and watching. So one of the things that is the most helpful is making sure that you help network. So sharing, liking, commenting, following, all of these things are a really big deal deal to help boost algorithms and boost our visibility across the platforms that you guys follow. So be sure to head on over to their pages, their Instagrams, their Facebooks, their YouTubes, and check them out. Give them a like, give them a follow, give them a share. Make sure you spend some time connecting and interacting on their pages, because these sponsors are really important to me, because sharing is caring. And when these people share my show and help, you know, get my reach out even further, it really is a big deal to a content creator's algorithms and platforms. So make sure you guys check them out. If you guys want to be a sponsor of Monday Coffee with the Doll, you guys can also find information for that below. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. Make sure you guys are following all of my social pages. There's a lot of fun that I post all day, every day for you guys to enjoy. Make sure that you guys are giving them a follow. Keep up to date with everything that's going on, whether it be from my projects with my 59 Etzel or the fun stuff that I post on my TikTok, which is kind of a little random and crazy. Make sure you check out my newest series on YouTube, which is helping you build the best retro closet, sponsored by the one and only Glitz, Glam, and Rebellion, helping you build the best retro closet and home that you could possibly ask for as a custom culture enthusiast. But also remember that most importantly, sharing is caring. And knowledge is power. And the more that we share of the knowledge that we collect along our own journeys with others, we can be both more powerful, what together, and on our own in our journeys in learning how to make peace within ourselves so we can walk in love with others. But also remember that these are the days that fill your week. So make them as amazing as you are. And I always appreciate the fact that you share some of your time with me. So I love your faces, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words, but at the same time, words speak louder than actions, because sometimes it's the right thing to do. Very cool.